Hello दोस्तों, welcome back to your channel UPSC Decoded. I am your very own Shailendra sir and I hope you are safe and sound. दोस्तों, yesterday we had talked about a very important civilization, the Harappan Civilization. We had started the chapter first part we did yesterday wherein we talked about the geographical extent of the Harappan Civilization. Then we talked about the geography, environment, and we also talked about town planning. किस तरीके की हड़प्पन सिविलाइजेशन में टाउन प्लानिंग थी हमने पिक्चर्स की हेल्प से देखा. Now today we are going to cover some more aspects like trade and commerce, religion, the clothing, the food they ate, and a lot of other things. So this class would be the second part. Alright, those of you who are joining me for the first time, this is more about me. I'm an MBA from Symbiosis, Pune. I have written multiple UPSC mains exam and these are some of the organizations where I have mentored thousands of students and aspirants like you. Also guys, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. I hope you have already subscribed because कई सारे lessons आने वाले हैं history के back to back and some other initiatives also I am going to launch soon like weekend PIB analysis, editorial, etc. Now we are also available on Instagram guys, so you can follow us over there and I will make sure that I share very important tips with you and useful updates about the UPSC exam on a daily basis. So let's come to the agenda of the day guys. Man takes to the city life part 2. Second part करते हैं हड़प्पन सिविलाइजेशन के बारे में. बाकी की इंफॉर्मेशन हड़प्पन सिविलाइजेशन के बारे में जानते हैं. Now this is a question from yesterday. You will have to tell me first and I want to see whether you paid attention in yesterday's class or not. Consider the following statements. Citadel was located to the east in Mohenjo-daro. And second statement is Harappa is famous for the Great Bath. Which of the following statements are correct? One only, two only, both are true, both are false? You can think about it and you can let me know in the comments what do you think is the right answer to this question. So let's come to the first topic, which is food. And the Harappans grew a variety of crops. Yesterday we had talked about the nature of agriculture in Harappa. कल मैंने समझाया था कि किस तरीके से हड़प्पा में सरप्लस एग्रीकल्चर हुआ करता था. बहुत फर्टाइल लैंड था इंडस रिवर के फ्लड प्लेन्स, बिकॉज this is, let's say, the Indus River. Around that we had the flood plains in which silt was spread about by the Indus River every year during the monsoons, and that made Indus civilization a very agricultural surplus civilization, a very abundant sort of civilization. Plus बारिश भी ज़्यादा हुआ करती थी. कल हमने देखा किस तरीके से ज़्यादा बारिश हुआ करती थी, and that way it led to a very fine and abundant sort of agriculture where the people grew a lot of crops. For example, wheat, they grew barley, they grew peas जिसको मटर बोलते हैं, sesame, right? What is sesame? You let me know in the comments. And then they also grew some other crops like mustard. Mustard आज भी बहुत फेमस है पंजाब रीजन में, राजस्थान में, हरियाणा में. आपने सुना ही होगा मक्के की रोटी और सरसों का साग. So सरसों is something which was popular even in those days, and they used to ground the food grains in millstones. Millstones आपने चिक्की देखी होगी, शायद गांव में आप लोगों ने देखा होगा जो लोग गांव से बिलोंग करते हैं, या अदरवाइज ऑल्सो आप लोगों ने पिक्चर वगैरह में देखा होगा. तो उसमें ग्राउंड करके या सिलबट्टे पे जो मोटर एंड पेस्टल जिसको बोलते हैं उस पे सिलबट्टे पे पीस के वो उसकी ब्रेड बनाया करते थे. ब्रेड मतलब रोटी बेसिकली. इट वाज नॉट दैट सॉर्ट ऑफ वेस्टर्न ब्रेड बट चपातीज एटसेट्रा, एंड दे यूज्ड टू कुक दैट इन अवंस. अवन मीन चूल्हा, जो जिस तरीके से आज भी गांव में चूल्हे होते हैं उस तरीके से वो खाना बनाया करते थे. तो ये तो बात हुई फूड की. अब कपड़े के बारे में क्या? व्हाट अबाउट क्लोथिंग, व्हाट अबाउट द फैब्रिक्स? नाउ यू नो दैट स्टोन एज में इंसान जानवरों की खाल पहना करता था, पेड़ों की खाल पहना करता था, एंड लीव्स एंड all that stuff. But now it is changed and now the people are growing cotton, and through cotton they used to make cotton textiles. So cotton textiles were very common and general amongst the people of Harappa. And not only this, they grew it for the first time. So for the first time the production and the making of textiles was happening in India, and that is why the Greek used to call it Sindon after India. The men wore amulets and the women wore bracelets and necklaces. So these were some of the things that the Harappans used to wear. In fact, guys, fashionable society थी, urban civilization था, fashion तो होगा ही होगा naturally. आज के standard से maybe थोड़ा बैकवर्ड हो, बट उस टाइम के हिसाब से यू कैन सी दैट अ लॉट ऑफ दीज थिंग्स दैट दे यूज्ड टू वेयर, ज्वेलरी वाज वेरी पॉपुलर बोथ अमंग्स द men and women. So the men wore amulets, as you can see, tabiz. The women wore bracelets and necklaces. So you can see some of these necklaces and some of these anklets also. So this is an anklet, and these are all sort of bracelets and necklaces. So you can see that it was a very fashionable society. Don't consider it as a sort of primitive backward society, because urbanized थी, और urban society में इस तरीके के काफी सारे occupations होंगे जहाँ पे non agriculture pursuits में वो लोग indulge होंगे, plus the society also would have similar demands, and that is why the production would also be there. Now we have just touched upon the occupations lightly, and now let's talk something more about the occupations, what sort of trade they used to have, what sort of commercial practices they used to have. So spinning and weaving of cotton and wool was a major occupation. Spinning and weaving of cotton and wool. So most important thing over here is cotton, because for the first time, as I said, हड़प्पन्स grew cotton and they made cotton textiles, और इस वजह से इंडिया के पूरा एक जो लेगेसी है कॉटन टेक्सटाइल्स बनाने का और उसको एक्सपोर्ट करने का राइट अप टू द ब्रिटिश टाइम्स. इनफैक्ट इट वाज ओनली ड्यूरिंग द ब्रिटिश पीरियड दैट अनफॉर्चुनेटली वी लॉस्ट दैट सॉर्ट ऑफ एज ओवर द इंटरनेशनल मार्केट. सो पहले तो स्पिनिंग करते थे, उसका स्पिनिंग मतलब जो कॉटन की बॉल है, बेसिकली कॉटन बॉल से उसको स्पिन करके फैब्रिक में उसको कन्वर्ट करना, दैट इज कॉल्ड स्पिनिंग. सो दिस इज द फर्स्ट थिंग इफ यू वांट टू मेक टेक्सटाइल्स आउट ऑफ इट. एंड देन द सेकंड थिंग यू हैव टू डू इन ऑर्डर टू मेक टेक्सटाइल्स इज वीविंग. सो एक तो यान बन गया, यान को तो नहीं पहन सकते ना, धागे को तो नहीं पहन सकते हम लोग, तो उसको बेसिकली वीव करके इस तरीके से फिर टेक्सटाइल बना दिया जाता है. So both of them they used to do this. It was a major occupation for the Harappans, and then they were also involved in other occupations. For example, one of the most outstanding characteristics of Harappan society was the production of pottery. Pottery के लिए बहुत famous है. आप लोग जब भी Harappan society के बारे में पढ़ेंगे तो अगर pottery का information नहीं है आपको, so the knowledge is incomplete. Pottery दो तरीके की थी. One is the plain red pottery. You can see that this is the plain red pottery. Plain red pottery, and the second is painted pottery. So plain red pottery was generally used by the Aam Aadmi, the common people. So it was simple, the plain pottery made out of wheel, and then we had more sophisticated refined sort of pottery, which is the painted pottery. And you can see all these motifs. The motifs could be geometrical, it could be animal, birds, plants, trees, etc. So against this red background, basically black paint has been made. So this is the sort of painted pottery which was apparently used by the rich people. हर एक जमाने में दो sections होते हैं, एक अमीर होता है, एक middle class होता है, and the common people used to use this sort of pottery, the normal one, and the rich people, the Birlas, Tatas and Ambanis of those times, they used to have the painted pottery in use. And then there was another craft that they used to practice, which is very important, that is the making of beads. You can see these are called beads. छोटे छोटे जो इस तरीके से क्राफ्ट किए जाते हैं, they are called beads. And beads when they are put together, तो गार्लेंड बनती है, माला जिसको बोलते हैं. माला आज की डेट में भी काफी पॉपुलर, स्पेशली अमंग्स द लेडीज. सो बीड्स से बेसिकली इस तरीके की माला बनती थी. प्लस दे यूज्ड टू आल्सो मेक bracelets, armlets, amulets, etc. out of these beads. So that was like really very popular in the Harappan society. दो जगह बहुत famous है as far as bead making is concerned. Please remember this. This is very important. One is called Chanu Daro. Chanu Daro, which is in Sindh, and Sindh, you know, it is in Pakistan now. And the second place is called Lothal. So bead making factories have been found at Chanu Daro, Sindh, and Lothal in Gujarat. And it was made out of precious and semi-precious things like ivory, like some semi-precious stones like lapis lazuli, or it was made by simple things like, let's say, terracotta, which is nothing but the fired clay, and it was also made out of steatite. Steatite is a sort of soft stone. And by the way, one of the other important characteristics about the Harappans in terms of trade and commerce is that they used to trade with the Mesopotamians. Mesopotamian civilization से trade किया करते थे उस time पर. Just imagine, yesterday we did talk about Mesopotamia, right, in passing. I hope you remember that. So यहाँ से लेके समुद्र से ये लोग जाते थे. They were very good seafarers and they used to reach Mesopotamia. They used to trade with the Mesopotamian civilization. They used to sell off those goods, products made of these semi-precious stones like lapis lazuli, which was procured from Afghanistan, products from agriculture, let's say cotton textiles and other things they used to export to them, and in return they used to buy certain things in barter. So it was not coins, basically they were exchanging with the Mesopotamians. Now let's come to the next important aspect, which is religion. So religion, whether it was organized or not, nobody knows. We don't know much about their religious practices. थोड़ा सा understanding है हमारे पास based on the artifacts and the items that have been found as per archaeological diggings. So these are some of the artifacts that we have found. One is the seated figure of a male god carved on a small stone seal. So thousands of the seals. You can see this is a seal. Basically, it is 2 by 2, 2 inches by 2 inches. This is a typical Harappan seal, and many such seals have been found. And on these seals, various things are depicted. For example, in some seals, people tree is depicted. In some of the seals, some animal like unicorn is depicted. Let's say humped bull, let's say rhinoceros, elephant. इस तरीके की जो चीजें इन seals पे depict की जाती हैं. और seals किस चीज की बनी होती थी? They were made of steatite. Steatite, as I said, it is a sort of soft stone. So उसको carve करके, steatite को carve करके वो seals बनाते थे. It was also made out of ivory and a lot of other important things, including gold. But the most common element that was used for making these seals was steatite. And a very famous image over here is that of Pashupati Mahadev. You can see this Pashupati Mahadev and these are the animals surrounding him. आपका काम है इनके जो around जो animals है उनको याद करना, because exam में पूछा जा सकता है that what are the animals that are surrounding Pashupati Mahadev. So they would give you confusing option and you don't have to get confused, because clearly you can see an elephant, a tiger, a buffalo and a rhino over here, and at the bottom there are 2 antelopes or deer. Is it clear to you? Now another very common image over here is the image of mother goddess. ये बहुत ज़्यादा common है, and that is why many of the historians say that this is basically a cultic figure wherein it was worshipped by the Harappans, just like goddess Durga. So some of the historians say that Pashupati Mahadev, or proto Shiva over here, it emerged later on in the Hindu cult as Lord Shiva. And then we have the image of the priest king. So priest king, this is an image which is found from Mohenjo-daro, and it has led some historians to claim that it was a priest dominated society. Some of the historians, not all, because there's a lot of disagreement amongst the historians with regard to what was the nature of the organization, who were the people who were running the vast civilization, who were the people in power. So काफी confusion है उस चीज से related, but there is no doubt that perhaps priests might have played a significant role in the Harappan society as is represented by this priest king. They might have held the bull sacred. So bull was also treated sacred, and you know that a lot of Hindu religious practices today that we have, they have been directly or indirectly influenced by the Harappans. So be it Pashupati Mahadev, the worship of mother goddess, be it the worship of people tree, or the holding sacred of bull. Nandi bull को it is the mount of Lord Shiva also. So that way काफी सारी चीजें हड़प्पन सोसाइटी से हमने इनहेरिट की हैं डायरेक्टली और इनडायरेक्टली. एक और जो चीज जो हमने कल पढ़ी थी, that was Great Bath. I hope you remember Great Bath. So Great Bath, which was found in Mohenjo-daro, yesterday I showed you the pic. It is apparently of religious significance wherein people used to have mass bathing. Recently हरिद्वार में कुंभ का मेला हुआ, वहां पे क्या हुआ? What was the thing that happened? Apart from, by the way, some news of corona that was taking place from there, it was the mass bathing, the religious practice which we continue to have even today. So इस तरीके के जो religious gathering होती हैं जहाँ पे लोग इकट्ठे होके उस ablutions करते हैं, वो कहा जाता है कि हड़प्पा से derive किया गया है. And another thing is that Harappan, they used to bury their dead in graves. So you can see this is a grave which has been found from Harappa, and there are some utensils and pots over here. You can see these pots and pans. वो आफ्टर लाइफ में बिलीव किया करते थे मोस्ट प्रॉब्ली, एंड दैट इज वाई अलॉन्ग विद द डेड दे यूज्ड टू बेरी द एसेंशियल गुड्स जो उनको यूसेज में आएंगे परहैप्स इन द life after death. So you should understand this aspect also, whether the Harappans believed in the life after death or not, and what are the manifestations of the same. कैसे हमको पता चलता है कि वो इस चीज में बिलीव किया करते थे. Now there are some of the things that we are not sure about the Harappan society. For example, उनकी स्क्रिप्ट क्या थी, क्या लैंग्वेज थी, क्या उनकी रेस थी, एथनिसिटी थी. काफ़ी ज़्यादा डिबेट्स हैं स्कॉलर्स में. एंड अनदर thing about which we are not very sure is the fall of the civilization. Why did the civilization fall? Because you know that the maturity phase lasted from roughly about 2500 to 1750 BC, and around this time, sometime later, around 1500 BC, there was incoming of another sort of people, a new sort of people who are known as the Indo-Aryans. So that is why some of the historians say that Indo-Aryans invaded the Harappan society and they massacred and plundered the Harappans. That is the first theory. Another theory goes that there was massive flood around the Indus River and its tributaries that led to the downfall of the civilization. Another theory says that there was this massive earthquake that struck this region. And then another theory is that because of the gradual desertification. Desertification की बात हमने कल की थी, and there is no doubt that desertification was a very important factor. But in the short term, what was that precise reason, we are still not very sure about it. So काफी सारी चीजें unanswered हैं. Maybe टाइम के साथ ज्यादा क्लियर होंगी जैसे जैसे टेक्नोलॉजी बढ़ रही है. And probably one of the important things that will also take place is the deciphering of the script, because जो इनकी स्क्रिप्ट है वो पिक्टोग्राफिक फॉर्म में है, पिक्टोग्राफिक फॉर्म में है, विच इज नॉट बीन डिसाइफर्ड येट. अभी तक डिसाइफर नहीं हुई, डिकोड नहीं हुई. एंड द डे वी डिकोड एंड डिसाइफर देयर स्क्रिप्ट, परहैप्स वी वुड हैव मोर इंफॉर्मेशन अबाउट द हड़प्पन सोसाइटी. So we are done with the chapter on Harappa. Tomorrow we are going to cover the chapter on the Vedic age, because Indo-Aryans अभी इंडिया में आ जाते हैं around 1500 BC. They enter in India in various waves. Exactly what was the process like और क्या क्या changes हुए हम कल पढ़ेंगे वो. So if you have any questions, if you have any suggestions or comments, please do let me know and I will ensure that I reply to you. So see you then. Till then, take care.